So obviously we are still in the preseason of college football, and it's a hard time to really evaluate prospects who are for certain going to be in the first round of the 2022 NFL Draft, um, as many players will rise and fall over the course of the college football season. For example, Joe Burrow Riz in 2020, he was like a projected like third round, fourth round, fifth round pick, and he rose to the number one pick. Zach Wilson was not projected a first rounder in the preseason, so it is hard to evaluate many players that will end up being in the first round. For example, Walker Little, who was projected to be a first round tackle in the preseason, ended up falling a lot out of the first round. And so, there is a bunch of things that could happen. And so these 12 prospects probably will not be the top 12 prospects of mine as the 2022 NFL Draft approaches in April next year. But for now, these are players that I think you should try to watch for in college football this year, so you can get an eye and study players that you like for yourself. So here's my top 12 prospects that I've seen so far. Obviously, I need to finish evaluating these 12 before the season starts, and hopefully can start evaluating more, but then also evaluate them during the season and through the combine and stuff like that. So first of all, I want to say I want to give all glory to God. I truly believe you're watching this video for a reason, and if that's the case, I just want to remind you that Jesus is King. I want to ask you to give your life to Him. It will make you so much more happy, so much more fulfilled, and it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. So I highly recommend you do that. And of course, without further ado, let's jump into the number 12 prospect. And that's going to be Garrett Wilson, wide receiver out of Ohio State. I do think Ohio State has the top receivers in this year's draft. Of course, we had in 2020, we had Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs from Alabama. Last year, we had Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith out of Alabama. So that kind of 1-2 wide receiver duo this year is at Ohio State. And number 12, Garrett Wilson, he could surpass his teammate in Chris Olave, but for now, you have Garrett Wilson as the 12th best prospect with 73 receptions for 1,155 yards with a 15.8 average and 11 touchdowns. He's able to stretch the field, his longest play being 65 yards. I do think Garrett Wilson will be a solid wide receiver for some team, but however, I just prefer Chris Olave over him from what I've seen through all the Ohio State games I've watched, because I do like Ohio State. I do think Chris Olave is the better receiver in my opinion right now. At number 11, we have Kaiir Elam, cornerback out of Florida. It's weird because I do like him. He's not the top corner in this draft by any means. He's definitely not the top corner, but I do think he'll be a solid corner. Obviously, played with C.J. Henderson a couple years ago. Out of Florida, he has 49 tackles, 36 solo, 13 assists, 15 passes defended, and 5 interceptions. I do think he'll be a solid corner, but if I had to rank him of the corners these past few years, it's hard. It's hard to say. So right now, I would rank him above C.J. Henderson, but I would rank him below Patrick Surtain, Derek Stingley, who's the number one cornerback in this class, and probably behind Jeff Okudah. But ahead of guys like J.C. Horn, who I'm a big fan of, and who else did I say? I can't remember who else I said. Shoot. I can't remember. I think I might have said I ranked him above and behind C.J. Henderson. Sorry, not C.J. Oh, yeah. Above C.J. Henderson, above J.C. Horn, but behind Okudah, Stingley, and Surtain. But I do think he's a very solid corner, and whoever gets him their defense will drastically improve. With the 10th overall pick, or not the 10th overall pick, my 10th best prospect is Christian Harris, linebacker out of Alabama. For once, or not for once, but this year, right now, the number one linebacker is a pure linebacker. Of course, We had Micah Parsons, who I felt was more of a edge rusher who could also play linebacker if he learns how to cover. And then I felt like JOK was more of a solid, pure linebacker, but he also had that flexibility to play safety. To me, Christian Harris is a pure linebacker in this draft with 131 tackles, 75 solo, 56 assists, 3 passes defended, 4.5 sacks with 1 forced fumble and an interception. So, obviously Saban produces some elite talent. Not only can he rush the passer, but he can also play in coverage, and I think Christian Harris is going to be a solid number 1 linebacker for a team. At number 9, we have Drake Jackson, edge rusher out of USC. I think he is one of the top edge rushers, obviously. Not the top, because if you know prospects for this year, you know who is number 1. We'll get to him in just a second. But Drake Jackson with 66 solo tackles, 32 assists, 34 solo, 3 passes defended, 7.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, returned for 10 yards. I do think that he is a fairly decent edge rusher who, to me, if there was a swing guy who could swing higher than this or not really swing, but more drop low, it would be Drake Jackson. I feel like something could happen to him, and I feel like he probably will drop. Who knows? He could rise this season, but I do think personally he'll drop. We'll have to come back and see what happens when it's closer to the draft. But I do think Drake Jackson could potentially fall to the late first, maybe second round. But I do think he's still talented. I don't see him dropping lower than the second round. But let's not put that negativity in the air. Let's say he is the number 9 prospect. I think he will be a solid edge rusher for a team. I would like him more as a complementary edge rusher. Maybe, for example, the Browns, for example. He falls to where they are. I think they're going to be a good team this year. But obviously, Clowney's on that 1-year deal. I would love if they picked up Drake Jackson and plugged him in to be the opposite side of Myles Garrett. They got, Myles Garrett, JOK, and Drake Jackson. That secondary with Greedy, Williams, Denzel Ward, and Greg Newsome. Dude, that's going to be a scary defense. At number 8, we have DeMarvin Leal, defensive interior lineman out of Texas A&M. Make sure you watch Texas A&M this year. They are going to have a lot of players going in this draft, and early too, in the first round, and some even in the second round. I mean, Texas A&M is going to be a top team this year. So, yeah, but the top guy for Texas A&M is DeMarvin Leal with 68 total tackles, 28 solo, 40 assists, 3 passes defended, 4.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, an interception, and 43 yards. He is just a monster who can get interior pressure. He can get his hands up, block the pass, obviously interceptions. I mean, this guy is a monster, and watch out for Texas A&M. Watch for this guy, number 8 on the defense, but also just watch out for their offense. I mean, they should be a good team. If they had Kellen Mond this year and he didn't go to the draft, I would say they are going to be a top 4 team, and I think they could have made the college football playoffs. But I still think they could. It's just I don't really know who the quarterback is right now. So we'll have to see. But still, that is a very talented team. At number 7, we have Spencer Rattler, quarterback out of Oklahoma. And I know a bunch of people are going to yell at me for, Spencer Rattler's too low. Why is he this low? Well, I go to Oklahoma State. So obviously, Oklahoma being our rivals, I like to check in with them and make sure they are I like to check in to see what they're doing. And Rattler did struggle towards the beginning of the season. He did pick it up, but to me, he is not the number 1 quarterback in this class for me. After doing my eval, I like Sam Howell more than him. I'll come out and spoil it, but I do think he is the number 2 quarterback, but to me, Sam Howell is the number 1 quarterback in this class. That could change depending on what he does this season. But so far, he has 221 completions on 328 attempts, a 67.4% completion percentage for 3,000, and he has 3,112 yards, He averaged 9.5 yards per play, scored 29 touchdowns with 7 interceptions. His longest play was 61 yards. He was sacked 22 times, and he had a passer rating of 172.0. And, yeah, I do think he can be a good quarterback. To me, personally, I'm not as high on him as Sam Howell, but we'll have to see what he does this upcoming season. At number 6, we got Chris Olave, wide receiver out of Ohio State. My number one wide receiver in this class. If he would have came out last year instead of returning to school, let's see. It would have been Chase, Smith, Waddle. He would have been probably my number 5 receiver right behind. Ooh, it would have been tough. He would have been tied for 5th. He would have been right behind Bateman, but it would have been Chris Olave and Kadarius Toney tied for my 5th best receiver. He returned to school, which I do think is a smart option because I would have taken him in the first round, but I don't know if he would have gone in the first round. So I do like this pick. Or I do like this player, and I think he'll be a solid receiver for whoever drafts him. And right now he is my number 1 receiver in this class. And I don't know if I read the stats, but I'll just read them again. Even if I did, he had 111 receptions for 1,775 yards, he averaged 16 yards for 22 touchdowns, and his longest was 58 yards. And this is throughout his entire career, by the way. At number 5, we got safety Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. It's weird because a lot of safeties haven't gone high in these past few drafts. I think the last draft to have a safety go high was 2018, where we saw Minkah Fitzpatrick and Derwin James go in that draft. So, could Kyle Hamilton break the streak and be a safety that goes in the first round? I mean, we'll have to see. But he had 97 total tackles, 72 solo, 25 assists, 12 passes defended, 5 interceptions for a total of 80 yards and a touchdown. And I think he'll be a beast. I just hope he can stay consistent this year. And because I do like Kyle Hamilton, but he's got to stay consistent. He's got to be a beast. Otherwise, I do see him probably falling because of that safety positioning, which is unfortunate. But I do think he's a monster and a beast, and Kyle Hamilton will be a difference maker no matter where he goes in the NFL. At number 4, we got Evan Neal, offensive tackle out of Alabama. Evan Neal is the top offensive tackle, in my opinion, in this year's class. Obviously, to me, as I've said before, offensive line is my weakest position to evaluate, so I have to trust the people that I know. And from what I've seen, from the little bit of tape I've watched, he is a beast. Do I see him as a Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater type of offensive tackle? No, because that's kind of hard to come to. But I do think he'll be a top-tier offensive tackle. And, yeah, I'm excited to see what he does in the 2021 season. At 3, we have my top quarterback in this class. And, if Drew Lock doesn't work out this year, I hope my Broncos take him. I think Sam Howell is going to be a great quarterback in the NFL with 496 completions on 770 attempts with a 64.4% completion percentage for 7,227 yards, 9.4 average, 68 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, his longest play of 87 yards. He has taken 69 sacks. Nice. And has a passer rating of 168.8. 168.8. Now, obviously, I don't want Drew Lock to fail. I still have a bunch of faith, a ton of faith in him. But, if the unfortunate does happen, I would like us to get Sam Howell. I think he's going to be a beast. And that's why, obviously, I have him as my top quarterback. But, yeah, I think Sam Howell is the best quarterback in this draft. And, let's move on to the number 2 prospect. Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback out of LSU. Could he be the best corner I've seen? Potentially. His freshman year, back in 2019, oh my goodness, so good. he had, he's a beast. But last year he did struggle a little bit. So, I remember, I can't remember who said it. I think it's, wasn't Mel Kiper, but it was, Todd McShay, I believe, who was talking to a bunch of teams down in the 2020 NFL draft, and an executive said they would have taken Derek Stingley over Okudah if he was eligible to be drafted. Obviously, he was a freshman then, struggled a little bit last year, so we'll have to watch this year's tape, and we'll determine if Stingley or Surtain, who went to my Broncos, is the best corner that I've ever evaluated. So we'll have to make a final decision on that. But he has 65 total tackles, 50 solo, 15 assists, 20 passes defended, 1 forced fumble, 6 interceptions returned for 17 yards. And, Derek Stingley, the number 2 player in the class. And number 1 should be no shocker. It's Kayvon Thibodeaux, edge rusher out of Oregon. Absolutely a monster out of Oregon. 67 total tackles, 43 solo, 24 assists, 6 passes defended, 12 sacks, 1 forced fumble. I mean, this guy is an absolute monster. He is your beast of an edge rusher that you see on a lot of teams. He's the Von Miller, Myles Garrett, Khalil Mack of this draft. And whoever has the first overall pick, I think will probably take him. Unless it's the Houston Texans, because they'll need a quarterback. Don't tell me Davis Mills is the answer, because he's not. And don't tell me if the Lions are picking second, they'll probably pick a quarterback. Panthers will probably pick a quarterback. My Broncos will probably pick a quarterback. But any other team who isn't really quarterback needy or has drafted a quarterback recently should take Thibodeaux, because he will be an impact for the defense wherever he goes. And I would be shocked if he fell, because we had Greg Rousseau last year, and I said, I like him. I don't think he's going to fall. And then I was like, well, I did some more tape evaluation, and he started to fall for me. And then I would honestly be shocked if he fell. Because if he falls, then, oh my goodness, I would be surprised. I think he's a beast. I think he should go number 1. I think he deserves to go number 1. But, let me know what your rankings are. And, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Make sure to subscribe. I'm out. Peace.